Good afternoon, Mountain Lions Nation. Welcome back to another episode of Lionsverse, a weekly podcast taking you inside the athletic department and giving you an opportunity to get to know some of your coaches as well as some of your fellow student athletes. I'm your host, Holly Stevenson, and with me today I have Lexi Rayburn and Taylor White from the softball team. Ladies, thanks so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So how has the semester or the year been going for you guys, and how has preparing for this new season been a little bit different than last year?
It's definitely been a lot different. And I mean, not playing a game in a year has definitely led us to start off a bit slow this season. But I mean, we've been practicing ever since the fall, so I think we'll start to put the pieces together a little more once we just get to play more together. It's been a little different because we haven't been able to do as much team building off the field because of COVID, and so it's just been a little hard in preparing team wise that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like every week or the whole season has been going week to week. Every week is completely different. There's new opponents. Some weeks we have 5 days of practice versus last week when we only had 2 to 3 days of practice. The weather has been really challenging this year, but I think our team is doing well in this adversity. And I think the pieces will start to come together soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rickey, your guys' coach, just seems to be she's a very she seems very structured, but very flexible in the structure that she sets up for you guys. So I'm sure she has a very well thought out game plan for all of the different scenarios that are being thrown at you guys. Has the focus for the team from Rickey been a little bit different this year, or does it feel pretty consistent from last year when you guys started the season?
It's been pretty consistent in my 5 years of being here. She's just she's being a lot more flexible with class schedules, because everyone moving online, it's been different.
Yeah.
Being in grad school, she's just been very flexible with making sure we get everything we need to done, and she knows it's harder this year for sure. So
yeah.
The coaches are also very willing to work with us outside of practice times. So the bullpen that Taylor and I are both involved in, we always show up to practice early most days because it's the best time for all of us to get a focused workout in. Some people that have to leave for class, they're able to come to practice early or stay late if need be. So she's been really good in working with us on the academic side and being there. She's very supportive in that sense, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see that coming from her. So last season ended very abruptly for you guys. You guys had only played a handful of games before everything was shut down. So take me through what that was like for you guys to experience. What was going through your head when your coaches told you that basically the season's over after it just started?
Yeah, that was super hard. I remember Nate, our athletic director, came down to our field during practice, and we were all well, this isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
And it was super hard. And being a senior last year, emotions were definitely very high. It was super hard, but we were all there for each other. And yeah, I don't know.
Last year was my freshman year. Yeah, last year it was a lot. I was a freshman last year, so I've never experienced what a full season feels like.
Right.
So I think in that sense it was easier to cope because I didn't have that understanding of what was being taken away versus Taylor, who had 3 other years of that, knowing this is what a full season feels like, and for it to stop just like that. I mean, Nate came down and told us that we were being canceled, and we finished that practice, and that was pretty much the last time we saw each other for several months until the fall. I'm not saying it was by any means easy for me, but I will say it was probably easier being an underclassman than versus a senior. And we also didn't know about the extra year as well back then either.
Yeah, I can only imagine as an athlete trying to process everything that's going on, especially as a senior.
Yeah.
So Taylor, when you realized that you were going to get that extra year of eligibility back, was it an easy decision to come back, or was it something like, had grad school, I guess, already been in your game plan, or was it something that you considered because you wanted that extra year of softball time?
Yeah, it's definitely always been something I wanted to do. I probably wasn't going to do it right away.
Yeah.
I was gonna go into the work, like get some work experience, stuff like that. But doing it now, I don't regret it. Like, especially during COVID, like it seems like there's not really any better time to do it, you know? But at first, I definitely wasn't sure. And then, I mean, like all my parents told me, they were like, remember how you felt when like you got told your season was over? Because like I was devastated. So
Yeah.
I just used like that. I was like, yeah, it was super devastated. I wasn't ready to be done yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I knew I just had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So going into this season with like last season ending the way it did, do you guys have a different mentality of how you're taking it, or are you trying to get everything to feel as normal as possible?
Things do feel pretty normal. Like gameplay wise, we always just have like a kind of understanding that it cannot be taken away at any time. You know, things could change at any time. Um, Games could be canceled because of COVID at any time. You know, so we always like kind of have that in the back of our minds, I think, but we're trying to just make the best of it and do what we can.
Yeah, I would say definitely there's an underlying appreciation that we're able to be out onto the field and everybody can kind of see that. We work hard at practice, and I think we go into every game day knowing that let's give it our all because, as you could see last year, this could be our last game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great mentality to take into it. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about how did you guys get into softball? Like what other sports did you play growing up, and when did you realize that you wanted to make softball your main sport, or was it always your main sport?
I always played soccer, volleyball, softball, when I was younger into like middle school. And then I feel like when high school started is when like everyone really has to make the decision of like what
Yeah.
major sport you're going to stick with. And the seasons all kind of collided. So I picked softball to keep going with, just because like I was on a travel team.
Mm-hmm.
I was a 4-year varsity starter for softball, so I just chose that route, and that was the one I liked the most too. So
Right, right.
I had a very similar upbringing. I grew up in a small town, so I actually started out with baseball because we didn't have softball. So I
Right.
played t-ball, which is pretty much co-ed, and then I played baseball up until kid pitch, which is maybe around like 10 years old, something like that. For
Mm-hmm.
a good 3 to 4 years, I played baseball. Switched over to softball in kid pitch, fell in love with it, played volleyball, soccer, all that stuff. And just like Taylor, once high school hit, I chose to play softball because it was at the same time as volleyball, and those are my two leading sports. But I'm only 5'3", so volleyball seemed like maybe not in my cards. So I chose softball, and yeah, was a 4-year varsity starter as well. Got some pretty good titles throughout high school and fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So it's interesting that you say that you started out with baseball. Do you feel like that has helped you or hindered you, or like how was that experience? And then switching into softball, was that a little bit weird for you initially?
Yeah, I would say it has definitely helped my competitive nature because all the guys always wanted to beat me. You know, like I'm gonna beat her. They always saw me as equals. Like they never treated me any different. Probably because I was like just as good as the other 10-year-olds on my team.
Right, right.
And a bunch of them that I grew up playing with are actually now playing college baseball. So that's pretty exciting. Like that we all kind of grew up together in the same track and now playing college softball and college baseball. So competitive wise, I would say that has helped tremendously. I don't really remember the switch over to softball that well, but I do remember like being in that first 12U tournament in softball, and the pitching was not good. The pitching in baseball at that level was so much better than it was at softball. So at first, I kind of remember regretting it, but it did not last long.
Good, good, awesome. Well, what made you guys choose UCCS when you started to be recruited?
Mostly the campus. Like I absolutely loved it. And I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, so about 2 hours away. I wanted to be like far enough away from home, but also
Sure.
still close enough that I could go home if I needed to or wanted to. So like I really liked the location. Um, I loved the coaches and everything they had to offer. So
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. I'm also I'm a bio pre-med major, and so the sciences are really important to me. And this school had a very good reputation in the sciences, especially with the nursing program and the nursing school. The science center was a huge seller, I will have to say. I loved campus. When I talked to some of the girls, it seemed like that they really liked Coach Rickey and the fact that she was different than other college coaches in that she cared a lot about our academics and mental well-being. And I thought that was really important. The school is about an hour and a half away from my hometown. So just like Taylor, it's close enough, but far enough as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say far enough away where you feel like you can still be an independent person and not rely on your parents too much. I totally get that. That's awesome. So what do you feel was the biggest adjustment for you guys going from high school softball to college softball? I know, Lexi, that you have only had like a few games to kind of experience that, but like even practice wise, like what was the biggest surprise to you, or what was there even a big surprise?
For me, my high school practices were not very tough or very long. So the practices here, like we're practicing pretty much every day me and Lexi are at the field for 4 hours every day to do bullpen early and then for practice. So like I would say just the length, the focus that we have to give to get done what we need to get done, and the amount of games we're pretty much used to, because during travel ball we would play 6 to 8 games a weekend or more. Like, so the games are they're longer because they're not timed. We have to play a full 7 innings. So there's some adjustments, but
my biggest adjustment coming into college was probably the sheer volume of practices, because in the fall when we started in versus high school, we had 2 weeks of practice, then our first game. In college, we had months of those long 3 to 4 hour practices without a game in sight.
Right.
And we would practice for all of that time and then finally be able to play our first game, versus it was very different in high school. I mean, you just jumped right into it.
Right.
And definitely the focus level, you're going to need much more, because a lot of times in high school and club, we would have offensive practice days and defensive practice days, where in college we do both every single day.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Were your high school teams ever the ones to do like the chants and the cheers from the dugouts too? I don't know how into that you guys were.
Yeah.
But it was like a pet time in softball.
Yeah, we do a little bit of it now. Definitely not as much as, travel ball teams in high school, but, try to keep the energy up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my high school team definitely did not do many cheers, but I wouldn't say we were as engaged as we are at UCCS and our team currently.
Yeah.
There's a lot more supportive teammates than I had in high school. And there's a lot, and the people like in high school, they play just because maybe it's something to do, versus people actually care in college. And I actually only played with my high school team was 3A. So there was probably only maybe 3 to 4 of us that actually even played club ball. So a lot of people didn't even play competitive or anything like that.
Right. It was just hobbies and stuff. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you guys, Taylor, you're a catcher. Lexi, you're a pitcher. How did you guys get into those roles? Was it something that you kind of always played, or did coaches kind of bounce you around until they figured out what stuck for you?
I played a lot of positions. I played pretty much everything except for pitcher when growing up. And I've been a catcher since 12 and under softball.
Okay.
So it really, I really enjoyed it, and it just definitely was the one that stuck with me, and I just kept doing.
Awesome. Okay. Very cool.
I've been pitching for a very long time as well. When you're little, you try every position, and I found that I was pretty good at pitching. Come my 8th grade year, I started going to a pitching coach, and up until my senior year of high school, I had that pitching coach, and now have Coach Ashley. So I've been working outside of practice for many, many years on pitching.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, it seems like it has worked well for you guys. I know like softball, especially when you're getting into it, coaches will try to bounce you around to figure out what works for you based off of height and things like that. So very cool.
And these two positions, I feel like, are ones that you kind of do like stick with rather than moving around the infield or moving around the outfield.
Yeah, they're pretty niche positions for sure that you have to specialize in. I agree with that. Okay, so switching gears just a little bit, you both had kind of mentioned your academics previously. I know, Lexi, you mentioned biology, I believe.
Bio-pre-med, yep.
Bio-pre-med, awesome. So tell me a little bit about what your majors are, what the anticipated future plan is, and why you guys are interested in that field of interest.
I got my undergrad in business. I majored in marketing, and now I'm getting my MBA here at UCCS too, with an emphasis in marketing. So, yeah, when I graduate, I'll just probably try to go into, marketing.
Awesome. Is there a particular company or an industry that you're interested in working for?
I don't have any particular companies, no, but I'd love to do like social media marketing or like marketing for sports teams or something like that.
Very cool. Awesome.
I've always been interested in math and science pretty much my whole life. I've never been a good writer, anything like that. So the sciences have really appealed to me. So I'm currently a biology major with a pre-med focus. So I should graduate in about 2 years, and I'm hoping to go to med school. I'm looking at a few different med schools now because the application process is pretty intimidating.
Right.
At the current moment, I would like to go into OB, obstetrics. I have a few family members in the medical field, and they kind of help me out in like understanding that world. And it's something I always have wanted to be in and will continue to be in probably for the rest of my life.
Very awesome. Very cool for both of you guys. So Lexi, you said that you have a few family members that are in that field. Was it just kind of listening to them talk that got you into that, or?
Yeah, definitely a little of everything. So my aunt is actually an OB, and then I have another aunt that's a PA. So both of them at large family gatherings, they've talked about, their different stories. Both of them have delivered like numerous babies. That is kind of like what they've done their whole life. And it's been very interesting to me. I've also had a personal experience in that field myself. And my own personal doctor was amazing. She made me feel completely comfortable with the situation. And ever since that day, that's what I wanted to do.
Very cool. Very awesome. And Taylor, you're interested in social media marketing, possibly for a sports team or anything. So what got you into marketing specifically? Because there's a lot of different fields that you can go into for business, and marketing is a very creative, kind of free-flowing field for that.
Yeah, I did change my major a couple times within business. I came in doing sport management, and then I changed to accounting, and then I was really liking my marketing classes, and I was like, I like this a lot more than accounting. So it was pretty much based on my classes and like the projects we were doing, and working with people rather than accounting where it was just sit behind the screen and do the numbers. Right. So that definitely made me more interested in that than the other things.
Monotonous work of number crunching. That for sure. I totally understand. Okay, well, I only have a couple other questions for you guys, and then I'll let you get on with your day. I know it's probably super packed. So we'll go back to the athletic side of your guys' life for a second. What are your guys' walk-up songs for this year, and what was the thought process behind choosing them?
Mine are both electronic songs, like dance music, because I just really enjoy like the energy of them. They pump me up. So
awesome. I love that.
So I have a walkout song since pitchers generally don't hit in college. Right. So mine is Nonstop by Drake. And the intro is like, I just flipped a switch. And so it's kind of like flipping that switch, like I'm going out onto the field, then I'm like getting in the zone and ready to kill it.
Awesome. That's very cool. It's good to have those types of hype songs for sure. And so last week I did an interview with two of the baseball players, Christian and Jaden, and they talked extensively about their superstitions and their game day routines or their batter box routines. Do you guys have, I guess, a game day routine where you have to follow it to the T, otherwise you feel like the game is going to be bad, or is there something that, Taylor, that you do before you step into the batter's box or every time you step into the batter's box for that?
Yeah, I'd say every time I step into the box, there's I do the same thing, the same things with my bat, step out, mess with the batting glove, stuff like that. We all wear bows and stuff in our hairs, and I think that's fun for us. We all have, well, not all of us, but those, and I don't know. I don't really have any other superstitions or anything.
Okay.
I would say the two that stick out for me is I get dressed the same way each time. And I always, the one that's super weird that people think is weird is I always put my belt in my pants before I even put them on. It's just something I've been doing for a long time. And another weird thing is I wear a face mask, a metal face mask on the mound. And I have to tuck, there's a tiny little strap. And I have to tuck it under my larger strap every single time I put my mask on before I pitch.
All right. Well, I mean, if it works for you guys, it works for you guys. The mask thing, that's interesting. Is it because you yourself were hit with that, or did you see it a teammate get hit pitching before? Because it's not a requirement, I don't think.
No.
So why?
I would say at first my mom pushed it. When you release the ball, you're pretty much 38 feet typically from the batter, and that's pretty close for reaction wise. I've been hit before, never in the face. But my mom pushed it at first, but now I don't think I would ever throw without it.
Yeah. Especially if you get used to it, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. That's all I had for you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to sit down and chat with me. It was great to get to know you, and we wish you the best of luck for this coming season. I'm sure Rickey has a lot of good things in store for us. Mountain Lions, join me next week for another episode of Lionsverse. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week.